Stardate 0224.2021. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, the kind of smart, kind of funny podcast about new Star Trek and beyond. I'm your reluctant captain, Mike Garcia. With me on the view screen, we have
Mariah Gossett,
Clyde Haynes,
and Grant Davis.
Guys, tonight we're streaming the pod live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter to continue our discussion from the last pod about Star Trek. So much to say about Star Trek Discovery Season 3, the season that passed, and a few things to theorize on about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, which might happen in the future, hopefully. We still don't have a premiere date for any of the shows coming out. But if you have theories about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, even about Picard or Lower Decks or Strange New Worlds, pointing a lot, feel free to drop those theories in the chat. If you have stuff that you want to see happen in New Trek as we go through the year, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll talk about it. Also, this is going to be kind of a loose hang. I think we're
getting loose.
Getting loose. In the YouTube description, like about half an hour ago, I'm like, man, I didn't really prepare for this, but I really want to do it. So I altered the title with the words "loose hang" at the end.
Oh no!
That'll save us.
It's a loose hang. Am I loose like a loose hang? We got a tight hang, but like a loose like.
You're nailing it as far as what a loose thing is. That's on.
If you are listening to the audio only version of this podcast, Clyde is leaning very far back in his chair, looking like he is having the ultimate hangout session.
And
lean back.
And no one's concerned about keeping this a tight, focused episode, so it's perfect.
It's a loose hang.
There are things we do have to get out of the way, like how you can support this podcast. One of those ways is to make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of these loose hangs of ours and you get to laugh at how ridiculous that we are. Those places include Apple, Spotify. You can also subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, all those places if you want to watch the video version and see Clyde be his ultimate chill self. You can find links to all of that and more at StarTrekPod.co.
Also, if you are here in the US and you just finally got your relief check for the pandemic and you want to put that money to use, patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. That is a place you can go where you can make a per episode donation. Give us $2 an episode and you can get exclusive access to our Slack channel. You can also join us for our we do little minis here and there. You can join us when we're doing those. Sometimes we're kicking it, doing a little online quiz about like which Trek character are we? And I never know who it is at the end because I don't understand who these characters are. But
loose hangs.
Loose hang, man. It's just a loose hang. So yeah, we'd love to have your money and your support, and we'd love to have you join us over in the Slack channel with other fantastic people that are already there. And we want to thank everyone who has already supported us so much in this adventure. We love y'all.
Indeed.
Yes, and as much as we love the audio only podcast, I have to say, for those of you who are here with us live right now, if you're watching us live, we want you to participate. Just don't listen, participate. So toss us some questions, some comments in the live chat. And if you want to do that, make sure that you type in capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat so that we can see your question or your comment. And we'll even try and address it later in the show.
All right. Very good. Let's carry on. Let's go ahead and drop some quick Season 3 hot freaks. Actually, Mariah, Grant, and I dropped our Season 3 hot freak last time, so now it's time for Clyde's hot freak.
Wait, hold up.
Yep, wait for it.
Hot freaks. There you go.
So let me get this straight. Last week you had the torch hot freak, but my hot freak is Riker with the chest out. Got
Obviously.
it.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
I mean, it's so interesting that hot freak is because I want to be distracted by Deanna Troi, but I can't because of the Riker chest out. No, my hot freak. Look, when I look back at season 3, I loved season 3. I thought it was fantastic. But I have to ask myself, why did I think it was fantastic? And it comes down for me to storytelling. And I looked at it and said, great storytelling is about when you know what's going to happen and you don't care and you're there for every moment. And I think what we got in this season of Star Trek Discovery was we knew that the good guys were going to win. It was back to Trek being Trek, but we didn't really care. Like, the storytelling was so good that you wanted to see what happened to Osira. You wanted to see what happened to Book. You wanted to see what happened kind of on Book's planet with his brother. Like, these are the stories that you wanted to see, even though you knew at the end they were going to win. And so I felt like we were getting back to this traditional Trek, and I enjoyed that. I also thought, by and large, one of the things that we thought we were going to get in the very beginning was how did the Federation get formed, right? Is one of these prequel storylines that we were looking at. And what the writers were able to do is give us that in the future. So toss out the constraints of 10 years before, the original series, and we're going to give you formation of the Federation, kind of the origin story, only almost 1,000 years in the future. So I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed, much of what you guys talked about last week, the storylines of seeing the evolution of Burnham and knowing that at some point she was going to get in that chair, but the how it was going to happen, and getting us to a point where I don't know that there's a strong criticism on her being in the chair. From day one, we all had differing opinions of whether or not she should be in the chair, and whether or not we wanted Saru to be in the chair or Tilly to be in the chair. And they brought it to a place where Burnham's in the chair, and it makes sense. We've gotten some new characters. We've gotten rid of some old, brought back some others. And so this has just been a season I've really enjoyed. And I'm, now that we're a couple weeks out, I'm already missing it a bit, right? I'm already looking at Thursdays and going, I really wish I had some Discovery to watch on a Thursday. So by and large, I'll just say that I was here for this season. I hope we get more of this. I think each of the 3 seasons have been incredibly different and unique, but I want more of season 3.
Nice, Clyde.
Yeah, nice job, Clyde. Oh, it looks like Grant made me the. All right then. Oh, Uh-oh. Well, come on now.
Where'd Clyde go?
Grant, what are you doing?
I was thinking it would be funny if when Clyde came back, we were all just like not on camera, but no one else was really on the same page as me on that. So
loose hang.
Clyde, one of the points you made, and I really agree with you, is like the strength of the storytelling. And I really liked seeing this reformation of the Federation in this instance. And in prep for this particular episode today, I was looking at the timeline of production, and the writer's room got extra time for this next season because of COVID. And so I'm excited to see what they can do with a little extra time in production in the writer's room. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens for season 4.
COVID is the gift that just keeps giving.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a gift. Something that you guys said last week that I thought was interesting was just the fact of what the writers did to us and looking at so many people as sus, right? Mm-hmm. Like we were just suspicious of everyone, and it was fun. But in the end, the heroes were the heroes, right? And as odd as that sounds, and it's like, there was a time where we got all of that, and then it feels like for so long we haven't gotten any of it. So to go back to a time where the heroes are the heroes, and I hate to say it, but you can kind of root for Vance. Like, you can look at Vance and go, okay, I can let my guard down a little bit. It's kind of refreshing.
Right. I definitely agree that, like, how they shaped our expectations there with how other TV shows kind of play with the nuance of characters and heroes aren't always heroes. It's fun that they, in a way, subverted that just by kind of going back to the classic model that, oh no, like you can trust in us. This family isn't trying to trick you like other shows nowadays.
But yeah, I wonder if it was written that way. Was it written that way for us to be questioning, like in terms of Vance, or are we just conditioned to think that everybody's going to break bad now? Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah. And to y'all's point, we see it so much with the rise of the anti-hero, and it was refreshing to see the good guys that we want to root for be decent, people who are working for the greater good. It's such a stark, so the show that sort of filled the hole in my heart for right now, not in the same shape whatsoever, has been Search Party, which the characters are just awful humans, terrible people, but you root for them and you're like, why am I rooting for them? And so it's nice to come back to Disco and to be like, oh, right, these are folks who are trying to do things for the greater good. Even if they stumble and fall from time to time, we don't have to be super suspicious all of the time.
Yeah. Right. And one of the dangling threads that we're going to explore more in the next season is actually one of those deviations for the hero, in that in the last 2 episodes, we see a betrayal where Burnham takes Stamets and kidnaps him, locks him up, and shoots him off the ship to save him, but more importantly, save the ship and everyone else from the chain having that kind of technology in their hands. And that came at a cost, and it was a betrayal of trust between her and Stamets that I'm excited to see how that plays out in the next season. I'm hoping they won't drop that, and that it will be a real sore point of tension between them.
No, they won't drop it. I think Anthony Rapp has discussed that in different interviews, and he said, yep, that is definitely going to be a part of season 3, that tension between Burnham and between Stamets. But he was quick to say, don't worry, it'll be fine. It's Star Trek. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say the side eye was hard side eye in that last episode from Stamets to Burnham. Yeah. So,
hey Clyde, I really liked your hot freak. You were super positive, and you kind of mirrored our thoughts on it. But you brought up the idea of watching the origin of the Federation in a way that we never thought we would get it. A brand new Federation 1,000 years in the future. That was cool. But I'm wondering if you had any, was there stuff that you didn't like that you want to see, that you don't want to see going forward, that you want changed going forward, or just stuff that you're like, why did they do this?
Okay, so I don't remember his name, but the guy we saw in like episode 1 who was basically waiting all by himself at that outpost, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, it's kind of cool. There's some symmetry of like seeing him in the first episode and then again in like the last episode. There were a lot of episodes in between where he could have showed up and they could have handled that. Waiting to the end was completely unnecessary.
That's your gripe?
Well, but my gripe is the one thing that I felt like I couldn't quite connect with was we were introduced to characters only to have them kind of discarded or set aside throughout the season, right? Like another one is, and I can't remember their name, but Vance's like second in command.
Right.
Like, there is a lot about that character that I felt like you could have worked with. And then we got him in like 3 scenes throughout the entire season. So that you're kind of introducing characters that seem rich and seem like, wow, you could do something with this. And then you just kind of toss them aside.
Does it feel like with characters like that, like with Vance's second, she was on the Disco to kind of be the liaison between them and the new Federation in the future, but that didn't really seem to pan out. We kind of like ran through that so quickly. There could have been some cool tension there throughout the season. But do you think they set that up for like maybe this character is going to have a bigger role in season 4? Like, you think we'll see that character again?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like somebody said, "Hey, this would be a great character to add to the show." Then they put him in the show, and somebody said, "You know what? It didn't work." And then they left, and it kind of felt like I got these characters, and then we had like Nan who like we saw these characters leaving, and it just I guess what I'm used to is early on in the seasons of especially a show like Trek, you establish who the characters are, you bring them on, and those are the characters. In this season, which wasn't 22 episodes, but I felt like we lost a couple characters. We were half introduced to a couple characters. And it just seemed in terms of the people we should be paying attention to was a little disjointed.
I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit last time too, where it is like, we don't have to know everything about every character right off the bat because we are in a more like longer form storytelling, right? Like we don't have to wrap up everyone's plot within the next 45 minutes. So we don't have to get like every little ounce of detail from them. So I sort of like the breadcrumbs. And I know like, I think Nan's departure was actually due to the fact that she got another part on another show. So they had to sort of elegantly write her away. But yeah, I can see your point in that there are people I would have liked to have seen more, but I'm actually now more excited to see what we get from them in the seasons going forward, because then we also got more opportunities to learn more about our bridge crew this season. And I think I'd rather learn more about the characters I've been with thus far and like continue to learn about these new folks as we go forward.
You know, you bring up an interesting point that I've been struggling with, because don't get me wrong, I love the bridge crew, especially Owo. But this feels like a different bridge crew. Normally, when I think about Trek, they've introduced us to this bridge crew that seems to be like the best of the best, right? Like each person sits in this seat and this is like the best science officer in all of Starfleet, the best helmsman in all of Starfleet, right?
It's also always Harry Kim.
Yes, and then Harry Kim, right? And I feel like we don't know if this crew feels, I don't want to say more normal, but they haven't established a competency level through exposition that we've normally gotten or some resume. And instead it's almost like, we'll just watch them in action over the course of season after season. And you decide whether or not you think they're competent or good or the best of the best. And that's been a little interesting to me, especially because this is really the first season that we've really had a chance to meet any of them.
Yeah, I like it. It the framework for these characters and how they're presented to us leaves a lot of room for character exploration. And if this show is going to go nearly as long as those other Star Trek shows did in the 90s, in terms of like, 5, 6, 7 seasons, then we're going to have a lot of room to really explore these characters. And I don't want, just a shallow archetype from this bridge crew. I want to see their vulnerabilities. I want to see a lot of nuance in the character. And like Mariah was talking about last time, we talked about all these breadcrumbs for these characters that have been left that really whet our appetite to learn a lot more about them.
Do you guys think that this show, how long do you think this series is going to go?
At least 4 or 5.
I mean, I've heard a possibility of a 7 season arc is what they sort of have in mind this far, but I think it's as long as it's making them money and the main crew will stay,
It is CBS, you're right. It's CBS.
7 for each of the red dots.
I was like, they're about to reboot Frasier with a podcast, like he's going to have a podcast, so they're definitely down to hold on to legacy media at CBS Paramount Plus.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh like that, but no. It's just, I was thinking that so often now we get these shows that almost from day one they're going, we're doing 4 seasons, we're doing 5 seasons. And then I was like, well, I just wonder when you talk about these character arcs, and then after I asked the question, I realized, oh wait, we are talking about CBS. And when I look at CBS's lineup, these shows are on for like 13 years, like forever. Like
even the ones that don't get buzz are on for like 10 years on CBS.
I mean, how many NCISs do we have at this point?
Please.
Yeah, like the new Magnum PI is like on its 4th season already. Like that came out. What?
It did.
Hey, I want to run through some MacGyver. I want to run through some of these comments as we talk because for some reason sometimes these comments disappear. Linda B says, "Pod, I think they might surprise us, and we'll see EPs in 2021 because they had a lot of time to plan last year, and they know what to do now." Do you think, Mariah? You're usually up on the production here. Are we going to get disco in 2021?
If we did, it's going to be very late this year, because the fact that there are still actors on the ground in Toronto filming means they haven't wrapped. And as we saw, like all of the post-production is still happening outside of that process. And so it's like in the grand scheme of like TV and movie making, like you shoot a movie in 3 weeks and then it takes a year to do the rest of it. So for TV shows, it's usually a pretty similar process. You know, you can go like edit and be doing things at the same time, but the post-production is going to take longer. So I think late this year if we got it.
I think a lot of TV shows, it's not very long of an editing process. They are turning out episodes that were shot 2 weeks previous live on TV, but
those are like
Star Trek. It's quite
right. Yeah, like sitcoms live in front of a TV audience, sort of multi-camera things are different than one that has this much like custom music composition and visual effects and like all of those extra details. So
I think I read that they're doing this season like they're shooting The Mandalorian with the giant LED screens in the background. And from what I remember from watching the behind the scenes stuff for The Mandalorian, that makes post-production and production a lot faster, which is that Mandalorian style shooting and tossing in the special effects in those screens. So maybe we'll get it before the end of the year.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I zone out and did Mike say that we were going to get a Mandalorian appearance on the next season of Discovery?
That's exactly what I said.
100%.
Yeah. Boba Fett too. And
great crossover.
And the little baby as well.
I mean, maybe we'll get Starbuck in 2 different costumes in the same show. That'd be awesome. Like
I'm down for that too.
So while we're on the subject of season 4, where do they even go with season 4?
Ooh, are we gonna? I have lots of Mariah theory times.
Okay,
I do love Mariah's theories.
That's
it's like my favorite part of the podcast.
I mean, we could outline where we've left off, like briefly, and then what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk. I feel like we have to talk about the burn and Georgiou's exit, and so I'm worried if we start diving into what we think is next for this season, we might forget to circle back to those things. So do you guys want to talk about the burn since that was our main plot arc of this season?
Only to bitch about it.
Only to bitch about it.
What I want to say real quick about the burn is just, it was a very interesting, very compelling mystery to establish why this future is broken. But the answer that they gave...
Hey, Grant, don't say tantrum. I got lit up last time for saying that word, so I'm just trying to help you.
Is they had a kid throw a tantrum next to a dilithium plant. Clyde's words, not mine.
I took that back.
You're breaking Mariah. You understand? She brings in the Gen Z, man. You can't break her.
She's gone.
And she's gone.
I'm just saying. I got lit up.
I take it back.
It
was more nuanced than that, Grant, and you know it. But was it satisfying? For me, it really was not emotionally satisfying. And it felt like it was more about Saru connecting with his roots and growing as a character. That's why they made it a Kelpian who was going through this existential crisis. And that I love seeing Doug Jones act all that for sure, but it didn't connect with me emotionally. The source of the burn. Yeah.
it reminded me of Phantom Menace and George Lucas's instincts in the storytelling there of how you take something fascinating and then show Anakin Skywalker as a kid. And it wasn't good.
Mariah has a defense of it though, right?
I do, but I can also understand that there are things I wish had happened with what they had created as the source of the burn. I think I would have liked to have seen a better build up to the moment we saw it happen, right? Because we saw the hologram of how it sort of happened. And I feel like there was all of this imagery of all of the ships exploding. And I wonder if there would have been more of this like big crescendo if we had seen in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if the holo could have provided this, but it's like the inciting incident, and then it's like the ripple effect, like going across the galaxy. It's like I think it felt so big at the beginning of the season, and then it came down to this small, nuanced moment. Which again, I can also see from like a writery standpoint that's also appealing. So I appreciated the sciencey elements behind it in the way that it like took the science of Star Trek with the science of now to sort of explain it. But again, it was this like moment where Culber is sort of explaining it sort of offhand. I think I just wanted the gravitas of what this was in those scenes.
Well, I think so. I agree with you, Mariah, and I've had a chance to really think about this for a while because this has been sitting with me. And I think part of what has happened is that we all had this really big expectation based on what was going on in the show, right? Was it nefarious? Was it malicious? Who did this? Was it a big cover up or conspiracy? Like we had a lot of expectations that this was going to be a big thing to uncover and it was going to give us a new big bad or all of this stuff.
Yes.
And I think what the writers were trying to do was to show us that it's easy for us to go there and for everyone to think that. But in reality, this huge thing that impacted lives all over the galaxy, right? Changed the course of history. Came down to human interaction, or not human, but a person and trauma, right? And that trauma rippling out across the galaxy. And so that it was organic and not a conspiracy, right? Mm-hmm. That it actually, instead of it being someone trying to do something to get ahead or to get further, what it actually was something that was inadvertent. It was a mistake. It was an accident. And I don't know that it came across that well, but I think the moral of this story was it was an accident, a simple accident, and not this big conspiracy theory.
That's really well said, and I did appreciate the subversion of expectations that you're talking about there. It all was about this one personal interaction that was so devastating to a person that it rocked the whole galaxy, right? Like that's pretty compelling from just a story standpoint. The execution wasn't all that, didn't really get me so invested. Like, I really like it. Like, have you guys seen that new movie, The Little Things, with Denzel Washington?
I did watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that movie a lot. I like those hard-boiled crime noir thrillers, but the movie it sets up this great murder mystery, and it has all the trappings of like a murder mystery, crime noir, hard-boiled thriller, and it delivers on all that. But it subverts all that, and at the end it becomes about something else, something more human, something more ground level and deeper that I didn't expect. And that was a great subversion where they made everything kind of small and about one character really. And just to say that can be done really well and really put you into shoes of that person who's experiencing that pain that had such an impact on everything you're seeing on screen. But this season for Disco, that really didn't happen for me. I know it worked for a lot of people
It's so funny you say that, Mike, because I hated the ending of that movie. So we'll have to talk about that another time.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people did. I really enjoyed it.
A lot of people did. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
But I can see where you're sort of drawing the comparison about like it is just the actions of a single human, or not human in this case, but a single person, and instead of it being this grandiose sort of item. And it's like if I was still in like college, I'd probably try to write a paper about how it's like a metaphor for generational trauma or something like that, because I think there's ways to sort of bring it into that realm of thinking. But I can also understand people's frustration, because I think when it is this big mystery, you want the big bang ending, right?
Well, even if they had been a little bit more creative with how they linked the trauma that has undergone the Disco Crew with that of the Kelpian kid, then at least I would feel that kind of build up, that connection, that like we can relate to what happened to you. I didn't feel like they properly explained why this kid's emotional outburst, if that's a better way to say it, Clyde, why that was tethered to the dilithium and how that rippled through space. I don't understand how it took 100 years and what's her name, Burnham, to roll in and then like just find 3 little coordinates over the course of like a week or two, and she was able to like put all this together, when it doesn't seem like Starfleet was lacking in technology or communication across space. They were still able to travel and communicate, and if it was a matter of being able to triangulate a planet, that also just didn't seem to make sense to me. Like there's a lot of problems with suddenly how they executed that. Almost feels like this was a ladder change in what they wanted to do versus all these other elements that seem to be like, if you want to go into the future, if you want to talk about there's a problem with Starfleet, why not have it be that Starfleet was instrumental in accidentally causing the burn, and that maybe there is a problem of accountability with Starfleet. That seemed like
they were
puzzle pieces that were going on there, but are they having the conversation of like Starfleet lacks accountability, they caused the burn?
Because I mean, it was the Starfleet ship that crashed, and so they didn't have because of whatever reason, they didn't go after this particular ship. That could be another question we have to get answered in the next season of like, why was there no rescue party sent out for this particular science vessel? And perhaps I can see if I can get a video from Dr. Erin, who is the science consultant on Star Trek, because she did, and it's on her Twitter. It was a while ago though, so I don't know if she has it pinned, but she sort of explained the science of the burn and how it sort of works in regards to his molecular structure, and how it was essentially within the rhythm of dilithium because of the planet. And so when he had this emotional outburst, the dilithium started vibrating, right? And so vibrations create sound, and the sound wave is, in this case, in Star Trek science, vibrates at the same rhythm as subspace, because it's a subspace particle. And so it traveled throughout subspace at this massively fast, at the speed of sound, across the galaxy, which is what caused the burn.
But that was tethered to, or that was related to the music that everyone knew then too. That was the song.
It was. I don't know about the song, but
here's the thing I'm reminded of. If you have to explain a joke, then it's not a very good joke.
Yeah, I'm looking in the comments, and Chike says, do you think the burned will be retcon next season? I don't think it'll be retcon, but it's interesting that this is the type of question fans are asking and talking about and discussing, because I think largely it just didn't land. It didn't land. So people are like, I want a better resolution or something that satisfies me a little more in terms of the burn. But do you guys want them to try to make it deeper next season, or you
Please
just want to move past
the burn.
Let's just move past it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of ready to see like who's our big bad in the galaxy now that Osyraa is gone. Like what I'm assuming there's a big vacuum sort of created with her fall from power, and a bunch of medium-sized bads will sort of appear trying to like make their way to the top for control of things. Because wherever you have like something like the Federation sort of existing, there's going to be people who don't want it to exist for their own gains and profits.
So Mariah, you want a big bad?
Oh yeah, I'm ready for a big bad.
So you prefer the big bad versus the like TNG style, we're exploring and looking at issues on different planets, but not really having a definitive bad guy that we're in constant conflict with.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like a constant conflict, but Voyager is my favorite, and it was always that like low level sort of terror of the Borg, right? So it's like they're not in every episode, but there's just this opportunity to run into them, and we know that they exist. And so I think I'm looking for who that's going to be going forward.
Well, the chain still exists, and Osyraa was like a Darth Maul within the chain, right? Wasn't she still answering to someone else within the chain?
I think she was.
The sense I got. She was trying to make her own moves to be the broker of peace with the Federation, sort of with their blessing, but she wasn't top dog necessarily.
I think she was a top dog, and I think she was a top dog, and that's why she was a top dog. She was responsible for all the atrocities, so I think that's why the Admiral wanted her to step down. Like, this will only work if you're not the face of it, because everyone's going to link it all back to you because you're the big boss. Yeah.
Well, if the chain does still exist and someone else jumps into that seat, I guess it could be interesting to see who it is. It is a little bit disappointing that we lost both of the interesting villains in the final episode with her and the dude. I don't know his name.
Pirate Western guy.
Pirate Western guy.
But
I don't know if it was that bad. He everything about him said, "I can't wait for him to die." Right?
True.
Like, Osyraa, you could have kept.
Epically.
Yes, but I wanted him to die epically, and like that was like, rewarding.
We asked about season 4 theories on our Instagram, and we're talking about big bads, and somebody said, I don't know if you guys can see this.
The theory.
Let's make a species 8473 trying to take over the Federation of Planets, which could be fun, right, Mariah?
It could be very interesting. Also, I'd love to see like a redo of these particular aliens with better tech. I think they would be far scarier.
They're like Star Trek's first completely CGI like alien foe that was on Voyager, and kind of a cool idea. Execution is a little wonky, but that, I typically don't like theories where it's like, oh, bring back this random alien or let's connect it to the past. But I think that one would be cool. I think there's a lot to explore there.
One episode, Voyager.
It's like 2 or 3,
yeah,
for sure.
It does seem like if the Federation still has the sole access to the Spore Drive, even if there might be 2 venues for it now with Stamets and Book, that is going to put a target on them from some sort of outside enemy. We also have this lingering mystery of I mean, I guess we can probably put Control to bed, but is it possible that some element of Control was still lingering on the ship when they blasted forward into the future? And then a third option is, remember that little green spot, that green little dust pellet of Lorca? Could Lorca come back?
Yes, Lorca can come back.
Oh, Lorca.
Lorca joins the spores and becomes a little spore baby like Culber.
I think having 2 years separated from Lorca's demise would be perfect, right? We're now primed, and we left. We're primed, baby.
By the way, in the comments, they're bad about that
language. And we left Disco and its crew at the end of season 3 in a position where, no more Control. In a position where it's really going to be a new show. It's a new crew. And we let them kind of with their shit together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So wouldn't it be great that the brand new challenge is something that they left behind that's come back to haunt them? It's going to bring up old wounds. And that's Lorca.
Tyler.
Oh no.
It's Lorca.
I was thinking. Oh, sorry, Clyde. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Mariah.
So with Calypso technically being the farthest into the future that we've ever seen the short trek, and we do know that the ship exists or some formation of the ship exists that far into the future. To me, it either provides the possibility that we might get some more time travel business at some point, but also there was some mention of like a war at that point, right? That guy was a soldier. And so to me, we have to start setting up at least the political game that's going to set up for this potential war that this guy's fighting in. And I know that's even farther in the future, but all of those political messes start usually way in the past. So it'd be interesting to see.
True.
You know, I like that, Mariah, because I think one of the things that we realize is that now, you know, yes, Discovery's the only one with a spore drive, but because we understand what happened with the burn, they're not worried about a burn issue anymore. And we found a planet filled with dilithium. And so I think what we'll see in season 4 is there's going to be a lot more, not only travel, but commerce. There's going to be a lot more exploration and settlement. And when you have those things, you inevitably have a political structure and a power dynamic. And so to your point, you're going to start to see people interacting both positively and negatively. And, you know, it would not surprise me if we started to see factions and warring and things like that come into play, because they're not going to be scared of traveling at the speed of warp anymore.
Yeah, we're going to see the Disco traveling all over the galaxy now, right? They're bringing the good news to everyone. Hey, we have dilithium again. The Federation's back, and we're going to see different sects of the galaxy and how they've changed, how planets we've known and civilizations we've known throughout Trek have changed. So that'll be interesting. Also, in the comments,
I was gonna say, Mike, you know what I want? I want a Voyager episode.
Who was it? Limo said, yeah. What?
Voyager.
Freeze?
Sorry, did I freeze? Am I back?
Oh,
a Voyager episode, because there's a
you mean the new Voyager?
There's a new Voyager ship, so we could get a bottle episode.
Is the Doctor still there?
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Lamo says more Georgiou, please, and let's talk about Georgiou, because there's not going to be more Georgiou on this show because she's gone.
Potentially.
So let's talk about Michelle Yeoh's exit, since we didn't get to talk about that last time, and where we think we'll see her in the future in Star Trek. Is that Section 31 show ever going to happen? We don't know.
If it doesn't, or if it fails, maybe she'll be back.
Maybe she'll be back. Yeah. Did you guys? I know, Grant, I talked to you about this a while back, and you like the Mirror Universe episodes because of the camp.
Theatric it was, yeah.
Yeah, I typically don't respond to them because of that. And it's funny because my favorite Star Trek show, Deep Space Nine, I think is the Star Trek show that has the most Mirror Universe episodes. They have like 5. And I don't really love them, even on Deep Space Nine. I just don't like how just big and broad they are and how silly they are. I do appreciate like the cast doing taking on different roles and trying different things out, but that can only go so far in terms of my enjoyment. So I understand why we had to dip into the Mirror U this time to go through to build, Michelle Yeoh's Georgiou as a character, and to really examine her and change her, and then to have her exit. I get it, but those weren't my favorite episodes for all those reasons I just shared. How'd you guys feel about her exit and that little arc that we took, the little side arc we took in the middle of the season?
I'll say that I actually agree with you, Mike, in terms of not being a huge fan of mirror universes. but I thought Discovery did a hell of a job with their mirror universes. Like I said, I'm usually like, oh, here we go. This is an episode that doesn't really matter, so I'm only gonna half pay attention. But they connected it to so it did matter. It had a purpose. It connected to the story, so I love that. And I look at this from an artistic standpoint and a business standpoint. Artistically, as exits go for spinoffs, I thought it was pretty decent. I really did. I thought it was solid. I'm not gonna go best spinoff exit ever, but I don't feel like I have a whole lot to complain about. And from a business standpoint, look, we were all excited about Michelle Yeoh being on Discovery, right? Just like you've got Handsome Mount on a show, you needed a draw, and dang it, if Michelle Yeoh's not one, I'm tuning in to wherever she lands. And so, do I think they're going to do a show? Absolutely. It's like Prince money, right? Like, you can mess around and have a Star Trek show every night of the week, and I'm going to be tuned in every night. So, I look at it and go, it's a win for me. It's a win for the company. It worked for me.
She will be back.
Podcasting, though. Clyde.
So much. I'm so excited. I thought it was like a send-off befitting the status that is Michelle Yeoh. It's like, if you're going to bring someone who is of that sort of like stature and legacy in like film and television, to me, you have to give her a proper send-off. And I think after the pilot episode of Discovery and sort of seeing how we had to come back around to bring her, I'm glad we got to see like a proper goodbye. I also just thought it was a bit of a fun break in the season. We got to just sort of have some fun. It was solidly entertaining, I thought, the whole way through. I mean, I also enjoy drag queens, and like y'all are saying, the mirror universe is everyone on camp, right? Like, everyone is just like turned up to 11 with evil and sexiness, and the costumes are tighter and made of leather, and we get to see people be their evilest selves. And I just really enjoyed the ride for what it was, as well as enjoying seeing Michelle Yeoh get, her flowers before she goes.
It was very operatic.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
Extremely
hilarious that they have dance fights in the hallway or whatever.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the tight leather out of my head. Okay. Focusing.
People are discussing the Mirror You in chat. Chike says, I agree with you, Mike, about the Mirror Universe. And Lee's A, since I brought up DS9's Mirror You episodes, she's fondly remembering Mirror Kira, which, yeah, I fondly remember Mirror Kira too.
And I got to Google that, because
Google it. You'll like it.
Explain it to the rest of us.
She is just down and dirty and badass and kind of like
Oh,
Giorgio.
wow.
Well, fuck everything that moves and skin tight catsuit.
Yeah, okay. I'm a
little dated.
I'm
for
closing
sure.
that tab.
Kern says Discovery did a far better job with the Mirror You than DS9 for the most part. Yeah, I'd agree there. And Liz A says, I actually really like seeing Mirror Burnham.
I agree. And I know I talked a lot about this last episode where we were discussing wrap-ups, but Sonequa Martin Green is just like a joy to watch on screen, and getting to see her, I think, play this totally polar opposite character in some ways, but still similar in other ways, was very fascinating. And I enjoyed seeing that performance.
Right on. I think, what should we talk about next during our loose hang?
Did you cover all of your theories for season 4?
Right.
Oh, no way.
we
I have a
started.
whole list.
We barely started.
I'm excited for it.
But wait,
We got
Mariah,
some
you
season
said
4
you want
comments,
to talk
too.
about the burn and Georgia. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we got to that?
Drag queens?
Always drag queens. I need drag queens in space. I have not seen enough of this. I think that should happen. I need my first drag queen performance in space. I know there is a number of queens from the last season of RuPaul's Drag Race who are huge Star Trek fans, and they get together and talk about Star Trek while in drag. And I never thought I could see my two fandoms combine in a more beautiful way. So yeah,
we should invite some of them on the. We need to invite some of them on the pod.
Yes. That sounds like a costume challenge for Grant.
For everyone.
Get your makeup palettes ready. You have 3 hours. Your time starts now.
Okay, we got some season 4 questions and theories in the chat, but let's talk about Mariah's theory extravaganza here.
Yeah, I mean the one I sort of let spill is the whole Calypso thing, setting up some of the political moves that we need to make in that. But I was talking with my spouse about his theories as well. He had the very inaccurate wild bot theory, evil bot theory for this season. So we always like chatting about them. But so season 1, we had Burnham searching for her place back in Starfleet. We had the Klingon War. Season 2 was, Redux search for Spock. Season 3, we have the search for the Federation. And so now it's like, are we going to be searching for something? And what would be that something? I'm not sure what that is yet, but it seems to be a reoccurring theme every season. And then the other thing is we have to figure out a way to get Saru back with the crew, right? Like he's going off and doing this whole sort of soul searching. And, what is the only thing that could probably call Saru back the fastest, right?
Blow up Kaminar.
I mean, but he's on Kaminar. But let's also not blow up Kaminar.
It's a little extreme, my friend.
Sorry.
I was thinking, Saru would do anything for Burnham, but who would Burnham do anything for at this point?
What if there was like a poker competition in the lower decks and he really wanted to join that?
It's possible too.
Better than killing everyone on Kaminar.
So the theory is we're going to be on a search for Book. Like something's going to happen to Book. And Burnham is going to be looking for Book. And the only thing that is going to make Burnham go rogue faster than she already goes rogue is Book. And so something happens where Burnham is also captured. Saru has to come back and sort of save the day and come back in.
It's a great title of an episode or an arc, Looking for Book.
I mean, it seems like the Disco crew doesn't have the same hangups that previous ships had to deal with, where like I'm gonna have to leave on a 5-year mission, because they can just blip over there and then blip right back, right? They instantaneous space travel. So there's no reason that we can't pick up at the beginning of season 4 with a series of events having already taken place, and Saru's just back from his time on Kaminar. He's got a great tan, feeling relaxed. He's got some Tommy Bahamas on, and he's ready to just kick it back with the crew. But maybe his new kind of elevated perspective is that he doesn't want to be captain, but he can be effective either number 1 or sort of like liaison on the ship, just like a consultant who's also on there.
I definitely do want to see. I want to see Saru back in the ship, not necessarily in the captain's chair, because I do like seeing Burnham there. And I don't really want a lot of tension between them, but I do want him to find his role, and I kind of hope we get maybe one episode about that, and then he just locks into place, and I trust these writers to do that, to find his role, because they obviously love writing for Doug Jones, as we saw this last season. So he's definitely going to be a big part of the show this year, or whenever it comes out. And I think they'll have a good idea of where to lock him in terms of his character and his place in season 4. Kern says, I want to see in season 4 what happened to the Klingons. Yeah, we saw like no Klingons this season. Has the Empire collapsed with the loss of Dilithium, with the 24 houses fighting each other again? I want to see the Klingons. I want to see, the legacy of Worf. We can talk about that now, since we're past all that. I want to see the legacy of Mary Chieffo's Klingon, or Loose Hang. Her name's escaping me.
Laurel.
Yeah. I want to see, I'm not a big reference guy, but it's going to be season 4. Let's kind of dig into, and it's going to be season 4 where we're 1,000 years away from the, the past Star Trek. So let's talk about what happened to the Klingons. Let's explore that. Did Worf, did L'Rell, did what they accomplished have any influence all these, all these years in the future, later, all these generations? Yeah. That would be cool.
It's gonna be one scene of them Wikipediaing and then going, "Oh, okay, they're gone."
The other thing we have left to sort of figure out, besides like some interpersonal things between Stamets and Burnham, is trying to bring Gray sort of out of Adira's psyche and into the real world in some way, shape, or form. So I'm excited to see how they sort of manage that, so that we can see more interactions between Ian Alexander with the rest of the cast, because I really enjoyed the episodes where Gray was, at least a physical representation and able to really interact with more than just Adira.
So when they were on the ship next to Kaminar and Gray was able to pop out, that was essentially like a holodeck program, like a more advanced one, right?
Apparently, but I also wonder if it had something to do with the massive amounts of radiation on the planet. And so I think we'll get some explanation to how that happened. And then, of course, we'll see our baby geniuses unite and come up with a plan to make it happen.
I was just kind of curious if there, like, Trills have been inside of holodecks in other Trek.
They have.
And it's not like there's any sort of like side effect.
No, we're in new territory with this character for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely more to be mined there, especially if they could go into just the fun kind of sciencing it with, like, I like those scenes where everyone's kind of teaming up to workshop mad scientist kind of solutions to these complex problems, and they're like, hey, we were in a scenario where we saw this effective. How can we construct our own experiment where we can try and recreate that? That'd be very cool.
Yeah, and who knows what we'll get out of the spore drive, even since we were able to essentially reincarnate, for the lack of a better word, Wilson Cruz. So who knows?
They built him from mushrooms.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get a MacGyvered mushroom.
And
Ian Alexander. Yes, MacGyver.
Was Culber constructed from Stamets' memory in there, or was he? I'm a little bit loose on my memory of that as well.
I'd have to rewatch to be able to explain it thoroughly, but he was in like the parallel sort of world that was created by the mycelial network.
He just got trapped in there during a jump or something, right? When he was there.
If I remember right, I think he was reconstructed by angry tweets. Why did you kill him? Why are you burying your gay? Sorry, we didn't mean to. Yeah, so that's what that was. Also mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms
solve lots of things.
Hey, we're talking a lot about disco. There are other Trek shows. Strange New Worlds is filming. We're seeing these new Paramount, like CBS All Access is rebranding as Paramount Plus, and we're seeing all these fun promos for Paramount Plus pop up with Star Trek characters. We're seeing there's been a few with Spock, our new Spock, Ethan Peck. There's been a few with Handsome Mount as Captain Pike, which are fun. They're like interacting with like people from Reno 911 and stuff like that. There was a new one with Sonequa as Burnham, like interacting with like people from Reno 911.
Oh,
I'm hearing myself. Yeah, is that you, Grant? Yeah.
I thought I had
all right.
Muted,
Grant. Come on now, and so that's cool. I think let's talk about Strange New World. That also filmed, or has started filming. Have they wrapped that yet? Does anybody know?
No. So everything currently is still filming. A couple of, they were supposed to like start Picard in January and it got pushed to February. I did just see that our Jean-Luc Picard did get the vaccine, which is great to see that he can be safe on set. And then Lower Decks has started the animation process. Apparently all the voiceover work has been done at this point. But yeah, everything's sort of in production. And I did see, unfortunately, Tig Notaro wasn't able to film for the first half of the season. But they're hopeful to bring her up to Toronto to be able to film, to get her in some episodes for the season. So
is it bad that when we talk about these new shows, you've got Lower Decks, you've got Section 31, Brave New with Strange New World, Picard,
Prodigy.
Oh, yeah, Prodigy.
Prodigy. What's Prodigy?
Nickelodeon one for kids.
Yeah.
Of Janeway.
Of those, I feel like Picard is the one I'm least looking forward to.
I'm really looking forward to that because I want to see what they do now, right? Chabon set it up, and I think he largely set it up because he wanted his own show on Paramount Plus, and they gave it to him. Now he's gone, and they're bringing in new showrunners. They got Mark Bernardin writing it, who's written a bunch of cool sci-fi stuff that I like. I think they're going to do something new and different with it, and there's really no map for what Picard can be in season 2. Like there's no real expectation for it. So yeah. Talk about Strange New Worlds. That should be pretty cool.
Yeah, with Picard we had the team up, and so I'm glad we get, anything with more Jerry Ryan, I'm going to at least watch and see what happens. And then Strange New Worlds, I'm stoked to see how they sort of approach that, because I think it's going to be a little less dark than we've seen in some of newer Trek previously, but whatever.
Grant, of all these new Trek shows coming out, which one are you most anticipating?
You look so excited, dude.
I'm not interested in Strange New Worlds or Picard. Not really interested in a.
You don't want to see more Pike?
No, not particularly. Pike was great among our crew, but maybe it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great, but I'm not excited right now. The one thing I am excited for is the return of Lower Decks. I know what that one is, and I loved the first part of it.
Yeah. And that's probably the one we'll see first, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling that'll be the one we see first of anything. And Tawny Newsome on Twitter was like, I cannot even hint whatsoever who this is, but apparently a guest star that they got to work, or a guest voice that they got to work with this season. Tawny was like, as soon as I read the character, I knew who it needed to be, and that's who we got, and that's all I can say. So I'm
it was
excited.
Me. I'm excited. It's gonna be. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's me.
10 strips of Latinum says it's Mark Hamill.
It's Mark Hamill.
It's Mark Hamill.
Probably. His guest spots though on so many shows are like really fun. I recently really enjoyed seeing him on
What We Do in the
Shadows. Oh, so good.
Jackie Daytona. It's such a good episode.
Yes.
For sure.
But
we're ending the end of the stream, guys. Anything else you want to bring up about potential future Star Trek? Anything about season 3?
I think JC has a good idea as far as what they should do in season 4. Just turn the show into Lost. What if
I'm here for it.
What if the ship makes a jump to this island planet that they just can't escape from?
Mariah's gone.
And there's just like weird 4-toed statues and polar bears, and they can't escape from this planet. Oh man!
I'm predicting an episode where there is a smoke monster on Discovery.
We have to go back. All right,
Lord.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on our Loose Hang pod this week. Loose Hang, everybody.
They should just all be loose hangs.
Why not, right? Why not? Remember to follow us on Twitter at Star Trek Pod to find out when we're going live during the off season. Mariah, tell people where they can find us.
Yeah, so you can subscribe to the audio version of this show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us streaming the video on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, all of the places. But you can go to StarTrekPod.co to find all of those links and more.
You can also help support us by going to patreon.com/StarTrekPod. right here. You can go to this link and you can give us $2 an episode, and that is about $8 a month at most. Right now we're in our off season, so it's probably even a little less. But get to join us in the exclusive Slack channel, chat with a bunch of other Trekkies about great theories and discussion on books and side projects, development of the shows, whatever. We'd love to have you there, and we appreciate all of your support. Patreon.com/Star Trek Pod.
And like Mariah said, remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Star Trek Pod. I want to shout out Karen, who helps runs our Twitter, and James Worm, who runs our Insta. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, we get to see the shirt. Okay.
I was showing the shirt. It's a shirt of this musician artist Mark Rebier, and my friend John Rubio did the artwork for it. But if you haven't checked him out, he's awesome. You should look at him on Instagram. Y'all will love it. He freestyles all of his music on the spot. Really great.
I need some help real quick from the chat. Do you guys like these or these? So just,
are they literally just the same glasses, but one's clear and one's dark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They both look good, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
Depending on, like the occasion,
Right.
what you're feeling.
Wearing one on top of the other. I mean,
Are they from Zenni? We need to just get a sponsorship from Zenni, because I'm pretty
these
sure
are
we all
Warby,
wear
actually.
Warby,
Zenni glasses.
If I had to choose, I think I'd go dark.
About that one.
very
dark
loose
ones.
pod. I gotta say, very
loose.
pod. What's going on here?
Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mariah Gossett. Where else can we follow you hooligans to vote on glasses and such?
You can find me at Clyde Haynes or on the web at www.keyandclyde.com. That's KEI and Clyde.com.
What?
Grant?
It depends on the shirt you're wearing, Mike. I think maybe if you were wearing something a little warmer, like can you change?
I can change shirts if you guys want to wait. I have to iron it though. Hang on.
I know Jonathan Van Ness now lives in Austin. Perhaps you can run into him on the trail and get his opinion.
He lives here now?
Yeah, he owns a house here.
How exciting.
I need a looser word than loose for this pod.
This has
Loose
been a
and
wave.
wet. No, that's bad.
Sloppy.
Well,
Let's stop.
Find me on Twitter at Mike Moody Garcia. Get me to 1,000 followers. Come on, I'm tired of begging. All right. Live long and prosper. Loose hang.
Bye.